Hello. Yes, thank you for joining us all this evening. It's on this unusual time. It's a very different open event to what we would normally expect, and we would normally love to have you in the construction building and showing you all the fantastic things. But as things are, this is what we're left with. So I'd just like to go through what courses are available for everybody and what you might plan to do for next year if you choose to come to Selby College. So firstly, really the construction team, what are we about? Well, we're committed to providing a really good learning experience for you as a student. We had a massive investment in the construction building 2 years ago now, where we were very fortunate to be given the opportunity to have bespoke workshops built for every single trade, which makes us one of the leaders in delivering construction qualifications at Selby College. Between us all, we have a very diverse set of skill sets. Everybody who teaches at Selby College in construction has worked in the industry for many years, and has pretty much come up from the ground up in terms of doing an apprenticeship. So we're very familiar with the path that you as students would be taking. We've been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt. So we're very knowledgeable about how the process works, any pitfalls that you may come across, anything that you might be concerned about, giving you the opportunity to make other decisions if you're unsure about the route that you've chosen. We give you a lot of opportunities to develop yourselves and develop your skills. So that's a very basic overview of what we're about. Can we just click on to the next slide? Thank you. So this is the team. Probably best working from myself clockwise. I'm the subject leader, as Phil said, of construction. My background is I'm an electrical installer. I was an electrician for about 10 years prior to me starting working at Selby College. I went to university, I got an electrical engineering degree, then came to Selby College as a tutor and progressed my way up. So moving clockwise around, we've got the gentleman with the beard. That's Paul, he's our plumbing tutor. And then we've got Michael, who's just above him. He's our brickwork tutor. Michael specialises in German techniques for bricklaying. He's from Germany, but he has a lot of specialist areas in terms of installing different types of brickwork and different brickwork methods. And then below him, we've got Phil. Phil is another brickwork tutor. Phil has worked in the industry for many years. He actually was the president for the Guild of Bricklayers up to last year. He's got some fantastic industry links, which gives students really good opportunities with those links into progressing on to employment. We've then got Jackie. Jackie previously worked for Shepherd's. She's our HR guru and does our BTEC level 3. And then just along the bottom, the gentleman that's not looking at the screen with a piece of copper pipe in his hand, that's Paul. Paul's also one of our plumbing tutors. He specialises in environmental plumbing, so rainwater harvesting systems, solar. And then we've got Sean, who's underneath me. Sean is our joinery tutor. He's done a stint on DIY SOS, which hasn't been on telly yet, but he can make pretty much anything out of wood, and he's absolutely fantastic. So can we move on to the next slide? Thank you. So the overview of the courses. Firstly, we've got the electrical installation level 2 course. This course is aimed at students 16 to 19 years of age. So if you've been at Selby College previously, you can progress onto this course, or if you're new to Selby College, you can come straight onto this course. It's basically designed for anybody that's interested in a career in electrical installation, and that can be domestic electrical installation, so something like house installation stuff, or it could be more industrial based, so you could be based in a factory doing big armoured cables. The qualification is absolutely fantastic. It's really well received. The students get the opportunity to do pretty much everything that there is out there to do with electrical installation on 240 or 230 volt stuff. So you get the opportunity to terminate every single cable that you will probably come across in the industry. We do things as technical as data cables that you would use on your internet connections or your Xbox or your PlayStations, really up to massive, giant, big armoured cables where you would see them in an industrial environment. So the students get a real good overview of what's required in the electrical industry. You have to have a really good understanding of maths. So we ask for a level 4 in maths. The reason being is electrical principles is very difficult to understand if you don't have a good grasping of maths. So that's a requirement for the qualification. It does go into a lot of detail, and it does require a lot of concentration to get the maths element right. And the reason that we really push that home is because if you are successful and you go on to get an apprenticeship, we want you to be able to achieve your apprenticeship, because if you don't have the maths, you will really, really struggle. There's elements of communication and procedure and requirements, which is pretty much core for every single construction qualification. The communication aspect is looking at elements of communicating via emails, via text messaging, dealing with others on site, dealing with different trades, dealing with the general public. So all the kind of things that you wouldn't think about in terms of an electrical qualification, but if you do go into the industry, we do need to consider what you would come across. The main part of it is the construction's craft skills, which is done in the workshop, which is fantastic. We have a bespoke workshop where every student will be allocated a bay. You will get a mains board the week that you start, and you will go from there. So everybody gets their own kit and their own bits and pieces. And like I've said, the scientific principles is one of the key parts. Now, I've just seen a question pop up, so I'm actually going to answer that question because it does relate to electrics. So, excuse me, because my chat box, there we go. So, somebody said, my son will not get a 4 in maths. Will he still be able to do a bricklaying course? Will the college support him with his maths? Yeah, that's fine. Your son would have the option actually to do either bricklaying or joinery in terms of the qualifications that will be required to get onto it. So there will be no issue with him finding a course within construction without the level 4 maths, as long as he meets the other entry requirements. So there will be no problem. Your son would have to be in a position where he would. Bricklaying is quite a far step from being an electrician. If he had his hat on and been an electrician, I probably would recommend something along the lines of the joinery side of things, because bizarrely there are elements where it's very, very technical. There's CAD stuff involved in that, and we've got a CNC machine. So if he wants to go for a more technical approach, then maybe a joinery course might be better suited to him rather than an electrical course, because it's got that technical element and it's got computers involved, and that people kind of associate that with electrics. So if electrics was his first choice, then it's not a giant step in a different direction if he goes on to joinery, because we do use CNC machines. So thank you very much for your question. Can I move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. And linked nicely in, like I said, joinery. So the joinery qualification, we basically do bench joinery at Selby College for the first year. The reason we do that is because we found that employers are really, they always want students with hand skills. So you may see other colleges where they offer site joinery, which sounds more appealing because most of the apprenticeships go on to site joinery. However, it's no good having a site joiner who can't do the small technical stuff. So what we do at Selby College is we encourage students to do bench joinery first, full-time with us. And then if they're successful, they can go on to do a joinery apprenticeship, which is 1 year at level 2. And this would focus on the site joinery element, which means that the students come in with a good understanding of how to use tools and the basic things. So chisels, use different types of machinery, planes, planar thicknesses, circular saws. And our workshop is set out with the latest equipment. So the students at level 2 on a full-time bench joinery course will get the chance to use all the different types of equipment that they would typically see. So spindle molds and bits and pieces. Now, initially when they come into the workshop, they have to be supervised all the time using the equipment by the tutor. As the student's confidence grows and we're more confident with their ability, then it will be a technician that would observe the students using the equipment, because it is very dangerous. But we have to do an assessment prior to that to make sure that they're ready to actually use the equipment. Again, basic stuff in terms of health and safety, that's mandatory in all units. Manufacturing routine for joinery products. So the students will build things such as medicine cabinets, basic stools. They would do mitering of skirting boards. They would do small joins, locks, and kind of more your historical joints as well. The students would also be shown how to do marking out and setting out. So it's a really, really good qualification. It's really in depth. This would lead nicely onto an apprenticeship. So what I didn't mention before on the previous slide was all our qualifications are set up to lead onto apprenticeship. So the electrical one that we've previously seen, that would lead onto an apprenticeship at level 3. Or it could lead on to a level 3 full-time course in construction and the built environment, or you could potentially move on to engineering level 3 with the electrical. With joinery, what you would typically do is you would see a joinery level 2 apprenticeship, and then after they've done the joinery level 2 apprenticeship, which is 2 years, it would then progress onto a joinery level 3 apprenticeship. If the student didn't want to go to a joinery level 3 apprenticeship, he could progress onto a BTEC level 3 construction and the built environment course. So that covers the elements. Then we've got plumbing. So plumbing is very similar to the electrical qualification in that it's more workshop based, it's very practical, and I'm just putting my timer up to make sure I don't run out of time. It's very practical, it's beyond bespoke practical workshop, and the students would do similar things again. So you would have the communication unit, you would have the health and safety unit, and then you move on to the scientific principles within plumbing. So this requires a maths element as well. You would look at pipework fabrication, we would do copper and steel, which is used in industry and domestic works. We would do cold water systems, installation techniques, domestic hot water systems, and other installation methods and maintenance techniques. It really concentrates on the environmental side as well. So we do use a lot of environmental bits and pieces. So we do solar. The fantastic thing about the workshop is it's connected to the college main drain. So everything that the student installs actually becomes part of the college drainage system once it's installed. So it can be tested properly, and it's a real world experience. Next slide, thank you. Then we've got a level 2 diploma in bricklaying. The level 2 diploma in bricklaying gives the students every single skill that they would need in terms of the bricklaying industry, or even labouring. Site labouring comes under the bricklaying element as well. We've got really close links with construction companies, which is amazing for the bricklaying department. The students always go on work placement, and we have really good feedback about these students. And in Selby, if you guys that are watching live around Selby, you'll know that there's so much house building going on at this moment in time, and it's started back up well before any of the other areas, which is great news for the electricians, joiners, plumbers and bricklayers, because it means that they're getting back to work. So the level 2 bricklaying course, again, it's a 1-year course. It would lead onto a level 2 apprenticeship in bricklaying, and then onto a level 3 apprenticeship in bricklaying if the employer so desired. Or the students could go from a level 2 to a level 3 construction in the built environment qualification. You get the basics about setting out masonry, solid walls and cavity walls. Next slide, please. And then finally, we've got the BTEC level 3. The BTEC level 3 is a really good qualification. We stopped running it last year because BTEC decided to remove the practical element, which we felt was really important to the development of the students. Basically, the students look at sustainable construction, science and materials of building equipment, so the stresses and strains and thermal effects and these kind of things. It leads to project management. We've had some fantastic results with students going and working for such as Persimmon doing project management. We've had students going into architecture off the back of this qualification, and site surveying. It's considered a higher level course, so you really need the GCSE grades, and it probably is an alternative to A levels with the requirements to get onto it, but it is a really valid course, and students that have actually been with us and on the level 2 have moved up to level 3. The really positive thing about this level 3 is this year we've added the practical elements back in, so all the setting out using theodolites, usually thermal imaging cameras, and also the environmental elements, so using wind generation as well. So it's a really interesting course. And one other thing about this course, it's all coursework, so there's no endpoint exam on this qualification either. Next slide, please. So is there any questions?
Just a really quick one, Andy. Do I need to bring my own PPE, and if so, what do I need?
So the PPE, there's a cost to the student, so it's £50 for the PPE for the full year. You get to keep your PPE and take it with you. It's industry recognised stuff, so it's not cheap nonsense, it's good gear, which means that if you get an apprenticeship, you can take it with you and use it on your apprenticeship. And the £50 also covers any trips and stuff, which I haven't mentioned, but I was just a bit conscious of time.
Yeah, of course, no worries. And just similarly, somebody said, do we need to purchase the tools, or again, are they provided?
No, all tools provided on the course. We have had students in the past where they have brought their own tools, and we're absolutely fine with them using their own tools. Parents will buy them sets of screwdrivers and bits and pieces. But no, every student gets a full toolkit, which is provided to them at the beginning of the year. So there's no requirement to buy tools, but if you do want to buy some, that's absolutely no problem.
That's brilliant. That's all the questions. Thank you.